Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another cast here in the Albion Giants League. This is our collegiate set. Today we have a setup between the University of Kentucky and the Illinois Blue. I am the voiceless one. I'm joined today by Lily. How you doing out there, my
Indeed.
brother?
I'm doing pretty well. The very rare Illinois Illinois blue.
Illinois.
Uh, as a little fun fact, I am on the other Illinois team for the Collegiate League and the Albion Giants League. So this should be fun. I'm excited. I full disclosure, I do know the result of this set because I looked at the screenshots in our team Discord. So I will try not to give anything away. But I'm interested to see how it turns out because I didn't actually watch the games. I wasn't able to. So this will be fun.
Oh, okay. So I was afraid you were going to be silently judging everything I say.
Oh
Like
no, I'll be silently judging everything that uh my teammates on the other squad do.
perfect. That's
Nothing to
much
do with you.
preferable. That's much better. Alrighty then. Well, this is going to be a firecracker, ladies and gentlemen. We are
Ooh,
starting out with University of
firecracker.
Kentucky on the first pick. Yeah, it's
I
gonna
kind of
be a
like
good one.
first pick in this current meta. There's a lot of really valuable things that you can try to play for on the table. So if they did have the choice, if Kentucky did have the choice of first or second pick, I approve of their first pick choice.
Well, they are going to immediately take away the Odin. Not interested in dealing with that cage or the bird bomb.
Nobody likes
Um,
Odin. Just nobody likes playing him. Nobody likes seeing him. Nobody likes his stupid spear running
is that
around
is that
for the
just the Illinois or
birds.
everybody? Everybody hates Odin.
Nobody in Smite game likes playing Odin. Like, can you literally think of anybody in the entire game who's like, "Oh yeah, you know what seems really fun here? Playing Odin for 40 minutes." Like, no. Who wants to play Odin? He's just boring.
I don't know what's worse, playing Odin or playing against Odin, though. I don't
Playing
like
against
playing.
Odin.
Yeah,
100%. One way you're going to sleep because you're playing Odin and you're bored out of your mind. The other way you're going to sleep because you're dead. So
just
unless
cut
you
off.
got some serious depression issues, I think you're picking the first one.
Well, Illinois Blue will turn around and take away the Tiamat, pretty
Makes sense?
standard first ban, and then we will see Artemis and Fenrir taken away.
Ooh.
So all pretty meta so far, up until the Fenrir. We do see Fenrir a
Yeah.
lot, but we also see him get through a lot. It's not often that people are so scared of Fenrir they take him away in the first wave of bans.
And
Um,
honestly, most of the time when you see a Fenrir ban like that, it tips me off that you want to play something that Fenrir is good against. Because I agree, Fenrir is not your normal first wave of bans unless you're going up against Ghost or PBM's team basically, or another team, Aurora maybe. Like the Fenrir masterminds, the people who love playing Fenrir and also have a jungler that can flex it too. So this tips me off that Illinois Blue wants to play something that they think is going to be bad into a Fenrir.
well, we see the Gilgamesh taken out by University of Kentucky, followed by is that
Cerberus.
Morgan Le Fay?
That's
That,
Cerberus.
that's Cerberus. Oh, okay. It's so
It,
on my screen. I've got such a
yeah.
little small one. I can't quite tell who it is. Okay,
See,
Cerberus.
Cerberus ban makes sense. It's a really strong soul laner. It's never bad. It's been top picked a lot. Technically, you can also flex it into support. I kind of like the Serb and the Fender bans, but it does leave some things on the table. And one that you pointed out is Morgan Le Fay. So I'm going to be interested to see if they do end up going there. And that is where the hover is. And I would be surprised if it isn't locked in. So Morgan Le Fay is done. Locked in for University of Kentucky, and that also makes sense for the Odin ban by them. Odin does notoriously well into Morgan, so we'll see if what Illinois Blue has as a counterpick to the Morgan.
Yeah, it's really interesting because both Cerberus and Fenrir kind of serve as the same thing with their ultimate. Their ultimates involve picking somebody up and dragging them somewhere they don't want to be. So
Hmm.
whatever Illinois Blue have planned, it would make sense that they would take both of those gods away because they don't want to be dragged somewhere they're not interested in going.
Right, and Osiris and Ardio. Ardio, of course, is an insane lane bully in solo right now. She's very meta and deals a ton of damage, heals herself up. Sustain is great. One of the few characters that can lane against her is Cerberus. And Osiris can have a bad matchup in Defender if he gets behind, because Osiris basically has to beads or ult. And once he loses either one of those two things, he can be really hard to play into a fight. But both characters very highly prioritized in the meta, and it makes sense to me that both of them are picked up in the top two by Illinois.
So University of Kentucky could take Sobek and on her, but on the side of Illinois, are you
Mhm.
thinking this Osiris gets played in the jungle and the RDO in the solo lane. Is that
Yeah.
your guess, probably?
I would not expect it to go anywhere else. Now, I don't know if the players prefer it elsewhere. I'm saying that as they're actually one of the teams that I'm involved with, but I don't really know. Maybe they do want to flex it. It's typically not a flex though in the meta, and I would expect the same thing for the Sobek. I would expect this to be a Sobek solo more than a Sobek support right now.
Oh, really?
Um, so we'll see if that ends up going in the soul lane. Yeah, I mean Sobek just dies in support. Like unless you're massive and ahead, you don't get to pluck anybody, and you just kind of get the you get used as a mop, and it's not fun.
Doesn't sound like it. Well, Illinois Blue will take it Merlin for our final round of the first picks here.
Mhm.
He's also very standard. We see quite a bit of him. He lanes up against Morgan Le Fay quite often. Sometimes we see him alongside a Soul, something like that. So Illinois Blue still missing any sort of ADC right now. Um, be interesting to see if University of Kentucky has a little bit of an option to kind of ban away from that. They can use their last two bans to really shut
Right.
down any ADCs that Illinois Blue would like to pick. So we'll
And
have to
there's
see.
lots of good ones up too. So I mean, they might decide to just let it go. I mean, if we're talking metas ago, it'd be the Danza Burrow that you're counterpicked already by picking the on her. But you also expect something new meta like Izanami that showed up at the playoffs. Rom is fine. Can struggle into on her in the 1v1, but he's just an insane team fighter. But it looks like the bans aren't going that way, and it's going to be a Ymir ban followed by Kabrak and Ratatosker. And we'll see where Kentucky goes for their last ban. But I mean, we're just banning out frontline at this point.
Yeah,
Hunter's still on the table.
all of them pretty much. Only
Mhm.
hunter that's been banned all game is the Artemis, and she's incredibly
Yeah.
strong right now just
Yeah,
because their
she's
build is
annoying.
better. And it's Athena final ban. So both teams taking out there's actually three Guardians taken out with our final four bans and an
Yeah.
assassin as well. Um
And one of the strongest guardians on the table slips through, Kepri,
Every
um, made famous by Aurora at the playoffs. Had an extraordinary showing at playoffs. It's a sick matchup when you have triple frontline. RDO Osiris Kepri is a great frontline core, and Kepri works well with a hyper carry damage dealer like a Merlin, and can be really really hard to deal with. I really like the Kepri pick here, um, and it can be punishing if this is a Sobek support. It can really punish a Sobek support. It is kind of polarizing, but if you're able to get the pull off first, it can be annoying.
I think it'll probably be an Ares support, Sobek
Good
solo.
pick.
And the
Yeah.
Thanatos will be the ADC for University of Kentucky. So no hunter. They're gonna roll with an assassin as their ADC. And
Well, other than the on her,
oh,
but
on her. On her's a
yeah,
hunter.
yeah. I mean, we can ignore that one, but I mean, Ares is a sick pick here, right? I mean, Kepri, Merlin, Ardio, none of them have CC immunity. All are pretty reliant on dashes. The Osiris even can struggle into the Ares if he doesn't. It kind of forces him to itemize into a wing blade, which he really doesn't want to do. I think this Ares pick is insane, and like I said, most likely a Sobek solo, but you do have to respect the flex. UC respected the flex, and this Ares pick is a great punish. Kentucky's got a great support, a really punishing duo lane over there.
It's honestly interesting to me that the ban comes out from Illinois or from University of Kentucky against the Ymir and the Athena because I'm
Mm.
way scared of the Kepri in this situation. So we're gonna have to see how that ends up going here for University of Kentucky versus Illinois Blue. That's it here from the desk. We're gonna throw it over to Supersonic Blur and Vengeance to cast this one out for you guys.
Thank you guys on the desk. Vengeance here with Blur, and this is our first week of collegiate gameplay, and we're already starting off with the Kentucky versus Illinois. As mentioned, this is Illinois Blue. This is one of the two teams they do have in Blur. It's going to be an interesting game with these comps.
It certainly looks like it, and especially how we've seen with the recent playoffs. I've been really interested to see how this has trickled down to the collegiate levels. We're still seeing a lot of the very strong gods for the jungle, like the Osiris and the early pressure. But now with things like the Kepri, like the Des mentioned, Aurora reintroduced this god into the game, and I've really loved seeing how it's worked. You get a very aggressive god that can dive with the rest of the team. You've got then also the just protection of saying one of my teammates isn't going to die for 4 seconds, which, depending on who you put that on, could be absolutely tide turning in an entire fight. Like, people have always said, oh, one Scylla fight changes the game. Imagine if you had an ult that said that Scylla ult didn't happen. So that's just how strong that can be. However, that is getting into the later stages, and with what we see coming out from Kentucky, they've got some very good early game pressure here.
They definitely do. We're already seeing them second time around getting aggressive against Illini's dual lane, getting ADC to half health. Nacho having to burn a pot, heal back up, but there's no immediate danger. Otherwise, the leap in was there, but not enough to get anything else. And one thing I'm noticing, Blur, is I'm gonna have to be careful about how I call the Wildcats ADC because he's Agent Blur.
Yes, I've snuck my way into both the casting and this side. Behold that! Look how quickly the aggression coming through from Kentucky just decimates through Illinois' mage there. Very, very careful on how they've been playing this, and, well, Xander's got to be careful. You cannot just waltz into the jungle.
Speaking of being careful and waltzing in the jungle, waltzing into lane, Thumb from the wrong side of things, finding himself under half health, but he's going to try and do what he can to help his ADC get a kill on a Nacho. Unfortunately for him, Odris is here, but Trizzle ends up coming around. So that's 2 kills coming through for the jungler of the Wildcats. And Illini find themselves down 2-0.
I absolutely love this as well. We're used to seeing this sort of cringe gank, or the older days, the ADCs would call that the cringe gank, the early rotation coming through, but this wasn't really that from Trizzle. They're just roaming the jungle, and people have been coming in to them. This kind of aggression that Kentucky have been able to put on has just meant that wherever Trizzle roams, there's been something they've been able to clean up, as we see here, looking to go for an invade on the buff. I believe it was successful, but not Warden will not let them get away with it for free.
Invasion successful, but only to an extent. This looks like it may be 2 kills going the way of Illini, and it is. It's a double kill, no less, for the jungler of Illini. So he's already not only cut down that lead, but taken over it as well. Taking down Trizzle is one of the 2. Wildcats, the lead they had, gone immediately from 1 invade attempt.
Unfortunate there, but great work from Illinois to not just sort of roll over and die on the situation. They've still got, they've still got an Osiris. They've still got a game to play. So there's no point saying that 3 minutes in, let's just belly up. So they hold in, they dig their ground and stand it, and they don't get the buff. But like you said, 2 turnaround kills, but it's still all guns blazing for the duo lane side of things. The burnt Nacho getting burnt to a crisp.
Well, I can't really blame Thumb at this point. He's been playing aggressively non-stop, and it has been working in his team's favor so far, outside of that one little invade mishap. But like, this just gives him the kill lead yet again, and it gives him a little more on the gold side. So far, his dual lane, they're up a level each. Everywhere else across the map, we're looking even. So this aggression, Thumb, from the dual lane side, it is paying off there.
Certainly is, and with this is what I want from an Ares. I want my Ares to be aggressive. I want my Ares to try and push as far as they are. I mean, look at this. They're off doing the enemy back camps. Even if it's just keeping an eye on someone, it's trying to do that to give more an opportunity for the rest of Kentucky, because now the Thanatos is roaming around the back. They're just going to go ahead and take away the green buff, which isn't too bad, but with that, level 5 gets hit. They go straight on up looking for more.
And he's going to hover, waiting for the crush down, but he's not able to keep the timing. It doesn't matter. However, Nacho lands from the ultimate, and Trizzle there yet again to claim his 3rd kill. They're going to rotate over, this time as 3 to the red buff. This is a little more dangerous for Illini, but they're still getting the better of the damage. Falling low is 1, and actually Thumb himself does end up falling. Trizzle, he's got 1 HP in a dream. He's using it to get out, but this may cost his mid laner, whose Morgan Le Fay doesn't have that movement speed option. Fear good temporarily, and it doesn't allow any room to close the gap.
Absolutely brilliant. The Humbat's out on a stick, that sinister spell, so beautiful seeing the trade there. But Illinois Blue, after chasing that out, have been able to grab themselves and invade themselves. Be careful, Trizzle. Jungle's not as safe as you may have thought. Warden running it down. We'll get the stun, not quite enough to follow it up, and so now has to try and retreat because Wildcats are back in.
And this is just still the tail of Thumb. The damage he's providing with those chains on this Ares, and One invade goes wrong for Wildcats, but Illini, they answer with an invade of their own that attempting to chase the kill. Trizzle just turns into more trouble. Warden falling again there. And this is not something I think Illini needs to be doing at this point. Blur, they have their opportunity to make a comeback, and then it was thrown away.
Yeah, it's no matter what Illini have been doing and the success they've been finding, it's always felt like this is Kentucky's game. This is their way of doing things. Sure, it doesn't always work out for them, but they're more than comfortable playing this. So, like you said, Illini, they've got a great late game look. They've got a great team fight look with the Kepri Res coming available, but they're not at that stage yet. For now, if they can just get there, it'll be fine. As we see in the mid lane, some fireworks going on off. Morgan Le Fay taking a spot with the Merlin, which is a nice lore basis, but not going to get a chance. Trizzle just shuts that one out completely with the Hovering Death. Now comes through the res, may go off, but if it does, they're still just a sitting target.
Well, it goes off, but the health gain back is more important. Makes it harder to chase him under tower. With Osiris showing up, no more chance for that kill. Gonna have to settle for the one onto the Merlin, and all that off of his almost kill onto the Morgan Le Fay, but that ultimate healing her when she's got passive stacked as well. Gonna be a little difficult there. Take her down. In the meantime, the rotation goes across to the dual lane, and Nacho is all alone. He's trying to juke around, but it's no good. He's gonna go up into the ult, providing the time for the Osiris to come in. But
Dot from... I gotta think that's a dot coming through there. I'm not sure how that got it, but they got it in the response. Now Kentucky, though, they're not done. They're gonna put the pedal to the metal. Under the tier 1 tower they go, looking for more. They're not gonna come up big this time.
I didn't think enough damage had been...
Oh!
Drizzle not back
Hello,
in with
Drizzle!
the ultimate. Has found the execute. Taking down Xander yet again for his third death, but... back to the kill that happened on Nacho. But I think that caught us both off guard. He's got the Mannequin Scepter, so the dot damage is there. I just didn't think I had seen enough of his health drop already.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it was Trizzle secretly bought Thorns and popped it for the last shot and got him. It's always fun, but no, it's again one of those situations, but Kentucky took it in their stride. And that Hovering Death use there, just want to point it out, such a great thing to know that, hey, just because Hovering Death is an execute doesn't mean that I only have to use it for executes. Late game, sure, blow up a tank, take one of them out, which is going to be phenomenal. However, early, the fact that it's a stun, meaning that you get a free basic into a death scythe, that does more damage than the execute amount or the execute threshold. So I love the fact that we saw Trizzle just back out and then go, no, I can get a kill here. Round the back, a little bit safer. Beautiful, beautiful work there. As Wildcats now 9-3 in the scores and 3,000 gold up. They are definitely setting themselves up for a strong mid game coming in here.
A lot of that right now, as we see the charts, it's going to be sitting on their jungler Trizzle. He's level 10 compared to 8 on Warden, which he just hit. 6, 1, and 2. The item difference being pretty big there. Then we look at the dual lane, 10-8, but 1-0-7 on Agent, doing a good job staying alive and using the aggression of his team. Make sure he's got his advantage and able to farm as free as he possibly can.
Not only that as well, but DJ has the Karen's coin, and with 2 stacks on that as well, is slowly ticking that up. But the Thelmy Thumb, it's gonna be fun to try and say quickly. 100% kill participation. I talked about what I want from my Ares, and this is it exactly. Just facilitating whatever the team needs me to do. Grabbing beads. No beads pulled here from the Kepri. No need, but even so, just constantly, whatever my team is doing, I am there. I am giving them the opportunities to be aggressive.
That was good recognition there out of Kadir's to know that he didn't need the beads. He was going to be able to survive, get away. But that chunk damage coming out with the Odibo and take a vault this early for Agent onto Nacho. It's proving to be pretty serious, especially when he's got his Ares nearby. The first Gold Fury falls down 10 minutes in. It looks like Pyromancer is going to be taken by Illini Blue in return. Not going to find themselves short too much gold off that exchange, but we're still looking at a 10-3 kill difference. The gold about around 5k now.
gold maybe, but it's that XP that's really creeping up. Even in the solo lane, something that's been incredibly quiet to Guardians, but just a little bit more of a lead for the Sobek. And I do think that this plays in favor for Kentucky at this point in time. We heard what Illy mentioned on the desk, how Sobek needs to be big, they need to have some kind of a lead, or they're never going to get the chance to pluck anyone. Well, stick them in the solo lane where they can just farm up completely free. The rest of the team is already pushing everyone else behind, so this Sobek has had a completely free time now with the Mystical Mail finished as well. The Stone of Binding, they're going to be a massive impact, and I don't think that Random Chaos is going to have the same impact on this RTO.
No, RDO, she can be aggressive in the solo lane, but when she's falling behind, this may be more of a pick for the team fight stage later on. Unfortunately for Illini Blue, that's something that may not end up being an option, as we see the tower dive as Trizzle comes through with the ultimate to take down the RDO. There's ultimate comes through, gets the beads. The ultimate used on himself comes back up. They're still here, able to do more damage if possible, but the chains off the mark, not going to be able to catch Kadyrus at this time. But Trizzle, he doesn't care. He's level 12. He wants to keep going. Does the damage with the shotgun blast onto Warden. And that Kadyrus tries to get away, but that was a blink under the tower. And no. Thumb says you're going down as well.
And again, still 100% kill participation. 2, 2, and 11. Thumb giving a thumbs up for the rest of the team. No worries, we got this. And the way that Kentucky just transitioned there, as I was talking about what this Sobek has now got, that's exactly what I want to see. Either the Sobek rotates to the rest of the team fight, or the party comes to the Sobek. In this instance, put Chaos behind a little bit further. You've got the rotations for it. Again, Hovering Death, this time being used as an execute. Beautifully done, especially on the higher tanky and the higher health and tankier targets, like, say, a Guardian, is really nice. And then just that understanding of, we can just keep pushing here. Like, we'll get this tower, but these two are really low. At worst, we get their beads, and that's just great because we've got an Ares. So really love seeing that. And we saw there as well, not Warden, who I believe was in full passive, meaning they have 16% physical mitigation. Didn't matter. Paper thin in comparison to a Death Scythe and a Hydra's basic. So even at that stage, there is not exactly a front line for Illini Blue, and they're just getting beaten black and blue at this point.
No, and we can see from their levels, 8 on the support, 11 for the ADC, well, 12 now for the solo, 11 for the mid, and 10 on the jungle. It's just, they're so close to their own levels. Unfortunately for them, it's the enemy team just being so far ahead. 12, 13, 13, 9, and 13. 13 and a half minutes in, which you don't always see at this point in the game. A nice little buff defense there coming out of Illini Blue. They managed to secure their own purple, not allow chains from Thump to steal it, but him and Agent, they don't care. They are looking for blood. They've spotted support, but the pathing that's taken, they don't have any opportunity. Anders here around the corner trying to find some damage, but there's just not enough. And this Illini needs to be a little careful here. Thumb's here, he has the ultimate, and he has shown he's not afraid to do what he wants, but Chaos is showing up, which means not too far behind is Froggy, and the ultimate is used. Oh no! There he's chained! It stops the execution onto the ultimate! It just allows Warden to go down. Chaos goes down. Thumb finding himself a kill. Agent finds one of his own on his Xander. Trizzle on the back end will take Nacho down. And that leaves Kadyrus all by himself. He's going to try and back in time, manages to do so, but this will cost the tier 2.
All right, so it wasn't, we're not throwing by mistiming that. We're just making the game interesting for us, but this is not a classic death ball. You see this a lot in sort of the ranked style where you guys have got a lead, and if you're not 100% sure you can pressure it with objectives, just all group up as a 5-man, see what sticks, and hey, if you end up winning a fight off it, let's see how far you can push it. Draga buff, though, is active, and with several members here, I'm not sure they're going to be able to get the Phoenix. They did manage to push it down to under half at 15 minutes in. Phoenix exposed. This is great for Kentucky. They can now go back towards that Oni Fury, and if they've already been able to take a fight like this, this is a great spot for them. It was unfortunate when Chaos came in. They went for the blink to try and hit anyone with the stun. Wasn't quite able to find it, and then just got CC'd to death. in the spot, and by that point we just saw that everything from Illini Blue sort of folds in on itself. They don't have a front line to be able to keep the carries alive. The carries don't have enough damage to push anyone away, so just the Wildcats can do whatever the hell they please.
And all the kills for Illini are falling onto their jungler Warden 3-4-0. The 3 assists, they're all coming from the mid and support. Nacho, who's been alone for quite a bit of time since the supporters left, is finding themselves 0-5-0, and Chaos, just as you mentioned, unable to find opportunity to do much in these fights. 0-2-0. Now Illini are already finding themselves down nearly 10,000 gold, and this Fire Giant full at 16 minutes coming from the Wildcats. This is something Illini's really got to consider if they want to contest or not, if they find out in time, because with Frenzy being popped, this is being burned.
Absolutely love this call from the Wildcats, just going ahead and saying, hey, best objective we've got is the Fire Giant. They will get beats force, which isn't too bad. Looking at the Ares with 20% CDR, that will be up more than enough time to be able to pull away the Kepri. So now, Fire Giant in tow, extending that lead even further. There's a 9,000 or so gold lead. We'll get dented out a little bit by the Burnt Nacho split pushing, but there's already a mid Phoenix exposed. Right side's being pushed up at the exact same time. Illini Blue, it's on a bit of a do or die situation here. They can hold, but it's going to take them a lot, and it's all down to this Merlin's positioning, with how they're going to be able to try and clear. But I'm not sure. As long as those minions get in, Wildcats will strip those backdoor protections, and that mid Phoenix is looking mighty juicy right now.
The Phoenix may be looking good, but I think what Wildcats are doing, they're waiting for these ultimates to come back, especially from Thumb. Give him that full CC pull that is going to cost multiple beads, or at least some sort of reaction out of Illini Esports that favors the Wildcats. And here, we're seeing the player damage charts, 9,600 onto Agent alone, 79 onto that Thanatos, followed up by the 6,200 coming out of Xander. These aren't very high damage numbers that some people are used to seeing at certain points in the game, but we are only 18 minutes in. That's the difference, and we have all the tier 2 towers down.
Yeah, it's a good work. I like that Wildcats decide, hey, we can play this slow, but at the same time, we do have as big enough of a lead that we can at least brute force down the left side tier 2 tower. So now with all 3 Phoenixes exposed, they can back up, buy up, and set up for whatever it is they so choose. The next Fury, not looking particularly great. Will help them with the next Fire Giant if they feel they need it, but I think they get 1, maybe 2 good pushes here on the Fire Giant side. That mid Phoenix pretty much all back to full health. Didn't go down, so will have that 100% of the health rather than just 75 or 80% of its max. So that's still going to be difficult, and I love what Nacho's doing here. They're not pushing up the left-hand wave. They're getting the Draugr. This is the siege mechanic that helps when you are defending, and we saw how good it was earlier on just with the mid Phoenix. Now they get that Rule 5 members against Fire Giant. It's definitely going to dampen what the Kentucky are going to be able to do in terms of how long they can stay under that Phoenix.
Well, we're gonna be finding that out here soon, as we do see a few members are grouped on the left hand side, but with the showing of Trizzle in mid, there's a couple more focusing that way. The dive coming in from Froggy. He wants to try and get something started, but he's being chained in, held in place as well. The Phoenix is gonna help Nacho get the kill onto Froggy, and in goes there. He's gonna get the ultimate. Instead, the beads are going to be burned. And we see Warden. He's being protected so far by his support. The ultimate is Proc Trizzle. We can't get out, but Agent on the back end being ignored, causing chaos, taking down Warden. Liking gets chaos as well, and in goes the honor. Thumb's gonna finish off Xander. Liking get the double kill to finish off Kadiris, and Agent is working with his support, but Thumb is gonna find a double kill on his own. That is a deicide as well. And Wildcats are gonna find game number 1 as they take down this Titan.
What started off as a nice hold there from Illini Esports just can't quite hold on. Warden goes in deep to try and get the revive off, but unfortunately the Kepri's too close. We end up with Agent Blur being able to fire off the ult coming back through. Great work though from Kentucky, converting that final siege. It looked a little ropey to start with, not quite 100% what they were looking to try and do, whether it was burn the Phoenix, bait in members, but they're able to roll with it fast and loose, pick up the win in the first game here.
Just good gameplay coming out of Wildcats all game long. They had the lead and they held on strong. But to break down this one, we're going to go ahead and toss it back to the desk. Give us their thoughts for game number 1 and how to go in for game number 2.
Thank you very much, Vengeance and Blur. We're back on the desk here with the voiceless one and Illy. We just got to see. I mean, I said it was going to be a firecracker. I didn't know it was going to be quite that one-sided of a firecracker. That was a little painful to watch. That,
I mean, it was painful in that I think Illini Blue kind of did it to themselves, man. I mean, you look at this 4v4 on the duo side from Kentucky. Ares on her, Thanatos, and a competent mid laner. That's a really scary 4v4 for almost any draft. And maybe you could argue, if they drafted an aggressive hunter with their Kepri, and if they had a really, really high pressure mid lane like a Hell, then maybe you can try to take that 4v4. But they didn't. They had Merlin Rom, which is great late game, but it doesn't really pair with an aggressive Kepri and an aggressive Osiris to fight the 4v4. I mean, that's all this game was. It was constant 4v4s around reds and purples. And frankly, Illini Blue is never going to win that with their team comp. They had this aggressive Ardio in solo and a strong jungler that could play that side of the map, but they chose not to. They chose to play into what Kentucky was going to be really good at, which was fighting the 4v4 in the duo side. So, yes, it wasn't close, but also
I feel like it could have been closer if they had played more to their strengths rather than their weaknesses, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. They needed to play through their strong side, their RDO pick, and they didn't. I don't know. There's not much else to it than that.
No, I totally understand. I saw the comp when it was formed in draft, and I figured that it was going to be a little bit more late game focused. And it felt like they were ready to fight and brawl, and they weren't ready. They weren't willing and patient enough to wait for that late game to get there. And by the time
Yeah.
it did, they were so far behind it didn't matter anymore.
And it's just you've got to learn to play your strengths in your lanes. And Illini Blue's strength was not the 4v4 that Kentucky drafted for. You have to play where you're going to be strong, and Illini Blue is not strong where they chose to play. Then once you get to mid games, sure. I mean, then it's anybody's game, right? You can outplay somebody in a mid game in a 5v5 on a Gold Fury. This game didn't get there. It was lost in laning phase.
Gotcha. So if you're Illinois Blue right now,
Right.
What do you do differently going into the second set here? Do you draft differently? Do you draft the same and try and play differently? What's your thought process if you're, I mean, these are kind of your teammates. So what do you think
Yeah.
going into
The other team.
this one?
Well, there's two options. If I'm the coach sitting in call, I'm gonna probably make a judgment call and say, okay, it looks like we like to play the 4v4, so we better draft for the 4v4 in duo. So let's do that, and let's put Chaos on some Resident Sleeper pick in solo and say, hey, have fun rotating to Gold Furies. And then Nacho, Kaderis, Xander, Warden, run it down, man. Draft some things that can work. Get an Erlong pick in there, maybe a Raijin pick, a Hell pick. Take the Anhur away. I mean, maybe we don't love Anhur, but it's got a great fight. Or you can say, yeah, I like the way we drafted, but we just need to play the map better, and we're gonna shift to playing blue side, and we're gonna lane better so that we don't give them a massive lead that we can't fight into around Gold Furies.
So after you see an enemy jungler go 9-1 in the Thanatos, do you ban that or do you just let
No.
them in if they want it?
No, I mean, you don't ban it. I mean, he was 9-1 and great. He got a lot of kills. That's good. He played well, but the pick is irrelevant. If I'm on Illini Blue right now, I'm like, Kentucky played their game plan. They did it well, but we just kind of put our necks down on the guillotine and said, please kill me. And we kind of threw all of our weakest points of the map straight into their strongest points. And of course it didn't go well. And yeah, I mean, their jungler plays well, but it wasn't anything special, really, in my mind. It was just we played our game plan, and the enemy team had a weakness where we had a strength, and they played into it.
Interesting. Well, we are set up and ready for the picks and bans in game 2. Excited to see how exactly those turn out here. As Illinois Blue now facing down an 0-1 deficit. They're going to have to play a little bit better here, or it's a quick 2-0.
We'll see. We'll see what the draft plan is here for Illinois Blue, and they have opted for first pick. So fair enough. We'll see what the plan is. Do they go back to the RDO or do they go for something different?
Looks like they go straight for Tiamat ban. Pretty standard.
Hi.
Yeah,
No Tiamat.
nobody wants to play against Tiamat.
Hey, in Tiamat's defense though, at least she's fun to play.
She is fun to play. I really like the way that you can combo her ground and sky abilities.
Mhm.
She's fun. So it's
Stance Dancers are always fun, man. Except Tyr. Tyr's not fun. But anyway, I'm gonna get off on a tangent about how boring Tyr is. This is just me today. Apparently, I'm whining about how gods are boring to play.
just really not interested in playing solo laners today. Not a fan of Tyr, not a fan of Odin.
What can I say, man?
Well, there
Boring
you
gods.
be happy about that because Odin's taken out as the first ban for University of Kentucky. So they actually teams mirroring the first ban of their first time. University
Yep.
of Kentucky took out Odin, and Illinois Blue took out Tiamat. So those are exactly the same. Neither team is interested in playing against either of those gods. And Artemis is taken out quickly as well. I'd say she has pretty close to 100% pick ban rate. I feel like if she does get let through, it's not often we don't see her get picked up because of just how strong she is with current meta bow build.
Yeah,
She's
and
good.
there are certainly drafts that can be very good in Artemis and can make her feel like a C tier pick rather than an A plus tier pick or an S tier pick. But they're hard to run, and she can still punish you. Even if you've drafted to beat her, she can still randomly crit you in the brain for 500, and you lose the team fight because your mage is dead. So Artemis is just one of those picks that can be really annoying to deal with, and it's just better to get her off the table for most cases.
Yeah, the biggest way I think to punish Artemis is to hurt her lack of mobility, which means you need to
Right.
have high mobility. But like you said, she can still get around that using that Caledonian boar to get herself. It's kind of a get
Mhm.
out of jail free card that can
Interesting.
really be obnoxious. So
Ares ban.
Ares
I
ban
think Ares is a strong pick, and maybe this is kind of the same thing as that Finner ban from Game 1 from Illinois Blue, where they want to play things that are weak into something that can punish lack of CC immunity, like Ares or Fenrir. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if Kentucky then picks Fenrir here in the second, third pick slot.
So Morgan Le Fay and Cerberus taken out as
Hmm.
our final picks, or our final bans in our first wave of bans here. Still pretty standard.
Gilgamesh.
Because Gilgamesh got through, we saw Gilgamesh banned last game, but because he gets through the first wave of bans, he will immediately be hovered by Illinois Blue. I wouldn't be surprised if they followed through and picked this up.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Gilgamesh, or as I affectionately call him, Gigglemesh, is he's quite a guy. He gets 1,000 gold for existing and playing the game, which is pretty cool, and also he deals a lot of damage and
he
can
has
be really
drop kick.
frustrating to deal with out of the jungle. So I do expect this to be a jungle pick. It can go solo, but I think most of the time in the metagame, he's a jungler.
Well, it looks like University of Kentucky want to lock in the counter jungler in the Osiris. This is kind of Smite 101 in 2021. You get Gilgamesh in one jungle, you get Osiris in the other jungle. It's just
Sure.
how it goes these days.
And
And
Osiris is
Rising
also a flex here. If he's not a flex, you don't ever pick him there because Blue is probably not going to draft two junglers. Gilgamesh, Osiris, I mean they can be a tough dive to deal with if they're jungle solo, but I feel like most teams don't value that. It can be kind of annoying to have on your team. But anyway, I digress.
More often than not, we do see them on opposite sides of the squad. We
Yes.
almost never see them together just because they don't pair super well, and the Osiris does have that flexibility you were talking about.
Right. But in my mind, notably, Hell has not been picked or banned, which is kind of silly to me. She's ridiculously strong right now because she gets mid pressure for existing, and it will be the Scylla pick. So Kentucky goes, surprise, surprise, really, really strong mid jungle. They're probably going to play through the same 4v4. again. Osiris Raijin is one of the strongest mid jungles in the game. The only stronger mid jungle out there would be like Hell Erlong. And even that you could still fight as Osiris Raijin. But I do like the On Her pick away by Illinois Blue. They're weakening the 4v4, and here's the ROM, which again, same thing, not a great 4v4, but he can play that, so it'll come down to the support picks for me to see which team is going to have an advantage in the 3v3 and 4v4 on the duo side of the map.
And the Scylla also able to dish out a ton of immediate burst damage, which
Yeah,
may dissuade
she's
people
great mid
from.
game.
Yeah, she may dissuade people from getting a little bit more aggressive as the fight goes on. You know, you're less likely to jump into an enemy team if you're at half health because Scylla's landed her 2 on you.
I'd be surprised to see if Fenrir makes it through these bans here, the second phase, considering that Blue banned them out in the first phase in game 1. And Gilgamesh does have a kind of a rough matchup. Didn't even say that intentionally. Gilgamesh has kind of a rough matchup in Defender, just because of the lack of CC immunity. If you don't have beads on Gilgamesh, it can be really, really hard to dive as that character.
Not opting to take away the Fenrir, instead they're afraid of the
Welish.
Welish. They
Fair enough.
don't want to get yanked back into that.
It's good into all 3 characters that Blue have drafted. I
It's
don't
very
think there's much more analysis than that.
It's true. It's just a Welish good. We can retire now.
I
Throw it
mean,
over to the casters.
poll many people. Her, Mia Willish. I don't know if she grunts like that, but I mean, maybe her panther does.
So the once again, University of Kentucky deciding to take out Guardians. Don't want to
Mhm.
face the Ymir and the Athena. Those were their last 2 bans in the last game as well. So just really not having it with those 2 today. Final ban down here to Illinois Blue. Like
Danza. Okay.
Danza Burrow. He's strong. I don't know he's strong enough that I
Yeah.
feel the need to ban him, but he's
That actually just
definitely
makes
strong.
0 sense. The only reason you'd ban that is if you think the Osiris is solo and they're going to play Dancerboro jungle. I feel like that was probably just a mistaken ban by Blue. They couldn't think of anything. Timer's running low. Click a button real quick. But it is what it is. Maybe they're not afraid of the Fenrir and are not concerned about them picking that and said, bring it on. Maybe they have a counter to the Fenrir that they want to pick and support.
It's very possible. Fenrir can get, locked down a decent amount if you
There's
catch
the
him
Ardio.
without the Ragnarok open. And that Ardio, also very
That
strong.
doesn't make sense to me. The fact that Ardio makes it through the second phase of bans, even if you're not going to ban the Fenrir, I feel like you have to ban the Ardio. Like you have just lost solo.
Especially after the way that first game went. You
Right.
feel like the Ardio would have been a slightly higher priority there just because of how egregious her victory was in the early game, especially.
Fafnir was hovered by Blue in the first phase, not banned by Kentucky, and is now hovered again in the second phase. Fafnir, I think, pairs very well with On Her. They have a pretty good fight together, actually, and Fafnir can help make up for some of the kit lack that On Her does not have attack speed in his kit.
He also has CC immunity on his ultimate, which makes him incredibly valuable against, like, the tether, for example, from Osiris.
Sure.
And they'll go
Yeah, I
double
mean,
Guardian.
Fafnir can peel Osiris really well. Fafnir's Dragon 1 has percentage damage increase on it. You basically have a Sunder on your Dragon form 1. And Osiris doesn't like that. And neither does Ardio, actually. So, I mean, the Fafnir can be pretty tech into like low mobility frontline characters that are really full commit on dive. And Sobek also can't deal with it very well. So, I mean, I think the Sobek pick here is kind of int, but we'll see how it works.
Picking into the strengths of your enemies here, maybe not exactly what you'd expect, but that's what University of Kentucky are going to go for. We have
Sobek's still
double.
a strong pick, but
Oh, absolutely.
is it that good? I don't think so.
We do have the double Guardian coming out. So obviously one probably going to be in the support, other probably going to the solo lane
Yeah.
there.
The York's going to be really interesting this game, I think. It can either go really, really well, or this Jormungandr is going to be very sad because he can't walk anywhere. He's getting constantly rooted by Ardio Osiris. So maybe the Wildcats will play through blue side this time.
Well, we will have to see how that goes. We are loaded up and ready. We're going to throw this one over to Blur and Vengeance as they're going to cast Game 2.
Thank you guys on the disc. And Blur, we didn't see the Fenrir. We saw the Willix bad. And now we have Sobek and Ardio on the same team.
Well, it's going to be certainly a strong look for the Wildcats here. I like how they've gone for a bit of a switcheroo where we see Illini Esports, they've picked up the Onher. So they say, okay, let me show you how you fight into Onher on the ROM. Thumb, though, the important point that I want to see, we'll get to that Gilded Arrow in a sec, they are running the Sobex support, which we've heard does need to get big, does need to force a lead to be aggressive, and the way that Thumb played last game, they certainly should be able to set up for that. But what we just saw there, Random Chaos is coming in with some new tech that we've been seeing recently, playing around with the Gilded Arrow start, especially for Jormungandr, who gets that buff split across their basic attacks, kind of makes them chunk pretty hard.
It is definitely something to keep an eye on, especially with the gold benefit that it provides. That on a Jormungandr, I mean, what more could he really want at that point outside of more gold?
I mean, free win? That would be pretty nice, as they're already a
Everyone
beats
wants
force
that.
from a pluck in there.
This is just that Sobek ROM combo early on with the pluck into just Astral Arrows that can go through the minions. So that's something also we're gonna want to keep an eye on, because there's a little bit of here and there about the Sobek being picked up, which there's part of he gets the first blood at the end of the day onto Nacho. Not a good look for Illini Esports here. I mean, you're already a minute in, down to death on the dual lane.
Part of me wonders whether or not this is Nacho. If you have a look, they did this last game. We never got a chance to mention it. They go for a mana pot here, and I'm not sure why. Like, the wrong kind of makes sense, but I'm not feeling it necessarily on the on part. Just get that extra healing as mid lane. We see a little bit of posturing here from Illini, but not much to do. The Gilgamesh just trying to be aggressive and offensive, which honestly last game Not Warden didn't really get to play, so I like the fact that there's still some fire in their eyes.
No, and that's definitely what you need if you're going to be competing in any way in any of the games that there are, especially in Smite. If you let one game get to you, the next game most likely isn't going to go your way either. So it's a good mindset to have that you're still in this. After all, this is a best of 3. If they win this one, go into a game number 3, give them a chance to still win the set. But that block, that counter into the wall, but it's just not enough. Agent with the roll forward gets Nacho. He's looking to pick up a second one here, but the hammer stun is good. The pluck out a little bit better. Does they have the leap up though in time? No, it doesn't look like the juke's coming through. But going around the minions, Agent will find himself the second kill at last. And I guess he just did not have the mana to be able to leap out there.
Textbook, absolute textbook from both sides on that, honestly. Fafnir doing as much as they can to spend as much time as possible forcing that engagement. Agent Blur holding the situation as well as they can, goes for as much through the basics as they need to, and then just slows it down and hits the last shots when it matters. Now though, T-Drizzle tried to go for an invade and gets run on out by the Xander. A good look, and once again, Illini find themselves down but not out.
Okay, so my only thing for Wildcats here is, after how game number 1 went, yes, you won pretty convincingly, but the early invades weren't looking good for you. Now you're playing Osiris.
Sure.
You have Gilgamesh is the opposite jungler with a Scylla as well. Don't feel like early invades right now, especially by yourself, are the play. But over in solo lane, we see the first solo over there of this set, and it's going to be in favor of Froggy.
Oh, get it, Agent Blur. Cool Marvel's up. We got a new contender for this with the aggression coming through. Thumb, so good, has been facilitating this duo lane. At this point, I kind of feel like we need to see Not Warden go over there at some point, because if not, this duo lane's just going to steamroll away. 80% of the kills have happened in this duo lane, and 80% of the kills have occurred on only 2 members. Outside of that solo kill, everything was being focused here, and there'd been no attention shown at all from Illini. I'm a little concerned that Not Warden's just not there.
Decision making definitely going forward. We're going to want to see more ganks focusing on this dual lane. Because honestly, at this point, if we continue to see this steamroll on that side of the map, and Agent both will be rotating together multiple levels ahead. And
Oh my goodness.
right
Someone
now,
call an ambulance, not Warden's legs. They're broken. They're gone. The ankles obliterated.
I was thinking, right now the state of Smite, Blur, I don't think there's much room for anything else, but if a dual lane is ahead by multiple levels early on that can full rotate, there's not much scarier.
Nope. And look at this. The Burnt Nacho goes down once again. 0-4 in this situation. And Agent Blur, they're just in an absolutely perfect spot. They've got full Ickfell wards. They got teammates coming on over. This lane is a free feast for anyone who shows up. Just get a little bit of extra farm in. And it's not really much that can be done about it. But not Warden is here on the rotation. We'll be able to pick it up. But no. Instead, it does go the way of the Fafnir. The greedy dwarf takes the kill.
Well, another invade. Back to the point of game number 1. Early invades did not go your way. Chisel still repeating that one, falling a second time for that. And this is the one thing interesting, Blur, this early, because Chisel could find himself a lot further ahead if he wasn't falling for these invades.
True, and with the Ickfell, I kind of get the concept of where they want to go, but mannequins, it makes it so tempting to want to try and do that, and especially after how well it got the ball rolling. I think the big difference between this and the last time is the fact that Thumb was the one spearheading those pushes, buying the space, and on the Ares, you've got a lot more threat to do that, just in terms of space creation. Whereas when you're on the Sobek, it's more threat of, if we pluck you, you die, so that's why you run. Whereas the Ares is doing that all by themselves, so it's a little harder to do that. Now we're seeing this invade come away over on the right-hand side instead, where you've got Froggy, who's already big, and that works out pretty well for them, but mid lane, I'm a monster, says no to the Taiko drums.
Well, unfortunately, on the second I'm a monster shot there as it fell short as a member of Wildcats got stopped in the meantime, but the pluck is gonna bring Xander back, and he's gonna find himself falling. The Thumb as well, and with the remaining members of Illini Esports coming around outside of the ADC, they're gonna find themselves getting hurt as well. The passive on Chaos finds himself getting taken down faster. Froggy gets that one, a double kill for the support of the Wildcats as he has found Warden as well. And now we see Froggy, a double kill for the solo and the support. The two tanks coming in on this fight.
Beautiful chef kiss there, and this is what the RTO is designed to do. When they make the rotation, the number of abilities in their kit, the control that that kit enables them, they're just able to take any team fight and deconstruct and decompose the enemy, tearing them down the longer the fight goes on. Little bit of sustain for the team, power reduction on the enemies, protection buffs for yourself. It's so ridiculously difficult to deal with an RTO who just gets to spend the entire fight acting like they're playing a King Arthur, spamming through their buttons at this point. Though the Scylla picks up another kill on their own in the mid, the second solo we've seen here. And with that, they also as well are able to grab themselves the first Scorpion, Greater Scorpion on the Gold Fury side. So no Gold Fury yet, but you wouldn't be surprised for thinking that one had already gone down as a 3,000 gold lead again finds its way to Kentucky, or 2,500, excuse me.
Well, Wildcats up 10-4. We saw this in the last game. It was 11-4. Suddenly it was 25-6 about 15 minutes later. So gonna see if they're able to continue that stride, or is Illini Blue gonna be able to fight back here and bring this one to be much closer. And as you mentioned, we're nearly 3K gold lead, has been more cemented at this point. There may be a catch here. Oh, the dash away just in time. The pluck nearly connecting. Thumb, he's got some really good reads on these little spots just to try to catch anyone from Illini off.
And it works so beautifully for them as well. Like the desk said, there's a lot of things that this Sobek can do if they are in a position for a lead. And now maybe baiting a little bit of Illini there, but no such luck. Both will be able to get away. But also as well, just the fact that with the blink as well, now with the Relic Dagger finished, those opportunities present themselves much more often. Gilgamesh caught a little bit out awares, will get the ultimate off, get stuns on out, goes for the kick, drop back in, but it's just not enough.
King showing up will clean up the kill onto Not Warden. Beautiful crush came out there from Xander, but it wasn't enough damage to help out his jungler. And with the Dragon transformation coming in from Kadarius, he's going to find his way out. But on the back end, Nacho finds the kill onto King, taking down Ryzen for his third death. And I'm a Monster was looking good, but the rollout just in time. Agent is looking to get away, but with Jormungandr here, he's going to the World Serpent. He's going to try and do everything he can, but it's not gonna hit or connect. And now we see instead on the back end, it's gonna be Froggy. But this is two members falling low on Wildcats. Illini Esports, where they're grouping, are finding a little bit more of an advantage, but it's not enough for either team to look at the Gold Fury.
There's a good blindside there from Nacho coming on in, being able to find liking to their liking, as it were, and now able to take down Froggy. It's not too bad of a look. Still members low for Kentucky. Haven't been able to go back to base yet. I'm just concerned if Illini might not have bitten off more than they can chew here.
Going back in. Remember, this is Wildcats reinitiated on this fight and got punished.
Whoa. As
members came back from Illini, and Xander the crush over the wall, taking out Agent. And Wildcats, remember, that was a 10-4 lead. We're looking at 11-7 now, and gold has been brought almost to 1,000 even.
Very nicely done there. I was concerned that they may be trying to push that just a little bit too hard on the forcing the issue, but all in all, they play reasonably well. Those crushes coming through from Xander really paying up big dividends here. No luck on having the Karen's coin finished before it, but finished now, so better late than never. And with the Chronos pendant as well, it's been a long time since we've seen the Chronos pendant first item. I'm not too fond of it, but I can kind of understand where they're coming from, especially after how last game went. Maybe it's better to just get the cooldown in, just in case.
Definitely could be, but take a look at these leads. We see Solo is essentially even. There's a 3-level lead in the jungle favoring Trizzle, a 2-level lead favoring Xander, even on the supports, and 1 favoring Agent. This is a much closer game than it was the last so far. But one of the big differences here, that jungle may be 3, but with Xander on Scylla being ahead and having this Karen's coin on top of the Chronos pendant, it feels like the Illini in these team fights could have the advantage here.
It does, and look how easily that ultimate, the Draconic Corruption, was forced, though. Got to be careful. Do Kentucky. Thumb gets caught out a little bit, but takes about a third of their health in damage just from the crush really starting to rear its head at just how strong that is. Quick learner, Scylla passive, meaning you've got that protection reduction as well during the time that you're in there. So you're not always as tanky when it comes to Scylla. And not only as well that, she's also got that 20% from Karen's coin, so certainly starting to become an unstoppable force. We'll just have to see if Wildcats can create an immovable object to try and stand up to them.
Well, as a result of these last team fights where Illini was able to take so much back, you see a slowdown across the map on the action, but we do need to pay attention in mid as we see the support all on one side, but on the back end is Xander. Gets a huge crush out on the King, who has to immediately teleport out, kind of backing opportunity as well. And it's a good thing he's able to, because Xander had the Alma Monster available if he wanted.
We'll take a peek at this though, but Nacho gets their revenge here on Agent Blur. Good little solo kill available to them there. Beads used to try and preempt the pluck just off the mark, but now they're lurking in the waters. Is it enough damage? It might be. Not quite enough, and now Thumb's gone a little bit too deep on their own. And
with Scylla here, the crush, the dash is good enough to get him away from that damage, but unfortunately there's I'm a monster off the mark now too from the juke. Okay. Thumb falls eventually. I was going to say the Beads Force was good. I don't understand why lurking in the waters was used. He could have just walked away, which would have saved his life. But then in comes the crew, and I'm a Monster gets burned. So now everything's become, even the death of Thumb feels like it's become completely worth.
Yeah, and this as well kind of gets, gives Kentucky a little bit of a peek into the mental. It's, guys, we've got to kill this guy. Come on, he's just roaming at us. We need this kind of kill. As you can see again, they're looking to try and chase away some of these kills. They may very well be able to find Trizzle here, but at what potential cost?
Well, it cost him the Gilgamesh ult, and I'd say that was a pretty good find. Drizzle being up 3 is going to give Not Ward an opportunity to find some way back. This also gives him an advantage to start this Gold Fury. However, the monster not up. It will be coming up soon. It's going to be a close call as it's finally available. So they do have that secure from Xander if they choose, but will it cost him the Jormungandr? It will. Agent going to take him down, and oh my, Froggy charging forwards, finds a double kill. One of them being Xander. Codeiris is going to trade him out. So for a 3-for-2 in the Gold Fury, make that a 4-for-2 in the Gold Fury. Agent Blur is getting a double kill here. Nacho's doing everything he can to stay alive, but Thumb is here. The blink damage is good. The pluck does not find him upon landing. So Nacho will be able to get out cleanly, but that just came at such a cost to Illini Blue.
Certainly did. Illini just focused out. They focus fired everything they had square into the Gold Fury. Said, we need to get this Gold Fury. That's all that matters. Unfortunately, at that point, Froggy is essentially free casting. You got to treat this Artio like a magical King Arthur. You cannot just let them push buttons. Agent Blur gets to sit up in the ult, scatter shot out on everyone who's trying to dive. Liking DJ gets to come in and hit multiple members with multiple shots from the ultimate. You can't just let people do that. I know that the Gold Fury seems like such an important fight, but it wasn't even like it was the last little spurt. There was about 10 seconds of time of, we're ignoring Kentucky, let's just do the Gold Fury. Kentucky didn't care if you got the Gold Fury. If they get it, fair enough. It's even, it's another feather in their cap. They were more interested in the fight that came afterwards. And it clearly shows in this situation. Now that the gold lead it's definitely been hampered, but it's still in Kentucky's favor. They've still got the momentum. Structure-wise, they're still in the lead as well.
And we do see Draugur's going to be started up here by Nacho. He's going to try and take this down as fast as possible. There's no one here to contest, so he's going to find it fairly easily. We do see come back into the lane is Agent. Remember, he did get the opportunity thanks to that 4-man fall with Nacho having to back to take down the tier 1 and left. It'll be the third tower of this match to fall as both tier 1s in mid are completely off. One difference in this game and last is that solo tower is still standing. So it's only a 5-4 tower advantage for the Wildcats.
We haven't really seen that the single look on over. Though at the same time, T-Trizzle's not been the instrumental part. It's more been, for Kentucky, it's more been about the duo lane and Agent Blur, but after those last 2 deaths that we've seen them take, it's sort of been hampered a touch, and it's kind of fallen back to Kentucky to say, all right, let's team fight this better, and Froggy certainly started to turn up big in those engagements. Pyromancer goes down. Illini are there to look at it, but can't really stop it from happening. They may be looking to try and catch someone on the retreat. That's a jump on in, and it's a full-on engage here from Illini.
They're looking at Froggy, wanting to take him off the boards, leaping us the Draconic Transformation. And this is a full send if I've ever seen it. Multiple ults being used just to keep the Artio in range. And Drizzle's going to take down Warden for it. Xander will finally take Froggy down, but at what cost? Chaos, he finds Trizzle as well. So it's a 2-for-1.
Look at
The difference being the ultimate's burned and Agent wasn't even there. He got to split push a tier 2 absolutely free. Illini Blue, they're going to sit back and try and settle for this Fire Giant. They may be able to get this uncontested. King is finding himself towards mid, but he's focusing on the minions.
I don't think, though, Kentucky know this is going down. I think they saw one member back. I don't know if the ward that's down there is theirs. Members coming on through, though, but Illini are able to grab themselves this Fire Giant. A nice sneaky play. The Rams up, looking to try and show us the Astral Barrage, but members just are nowhere near low enough for it. Great call there. Resetting momentum and basically making this an even game.
Not only that, but Codeiris using the hammer just in time to stop Thumb from chasing down Xander and finding a kill onto the Scylla, which means they still get to have 4 members with that Fire Giant buff. The only thing here is this going to be used more defensively or to turn back the aggression? Because Wildcats, it doesn't look like in any way that they are shying down from keeping up their pressure.
It's going to be difficult to answer that. It really comes down to the players. It's a little bit on the objectives. Kentucky want to try and answer the question or answer that question themselves by posing another question of, okay, we're going to look to try and set up around this this next Fury coming up. Are you going to fight us? Are you not? And I think at this point, Illini might want to try and use this to really try and re-leverage their some kind of a resurgence in their goal. We do see all 5 members starting to group up here on this right-hand side. Kentucky don't really seem too bothered by it. They will know now that there are multiple members here, but they've said, okay, let's play chicken. We've got an exposed Phoenix. You can have an exposed Phoenix. We'll go get ourselves an Oni Fury for the troubles of it, and now they might be trying to base race this.
And honestly, they're not going to let this be a base race as members are finally backing. They know that they don't have the same positioning to be able to take down the Phoenix in the same amount of time, but
Look at them.
this trade overall only evened out the towers. The left-hand side is mirrored to the right. So really, it's not a bad decision by Kentucky. Focus on getting those enhanced Oni minions so that they can have the advantage on pushing lane without even having to be there. Matter of fact, it's not even just that. Look at the tier 2 and mid. It's gone.
Yep.
You just traded tier
Both.
2 towers because no one paid attention to what's going on behind you. You had a full 5-member team there, only facing 3. And it took the same amount of time
Agent?
to take down tier 2. But Agent not backing. No, he might be fine. In comes Trizzle. He uses the ultimate. He's getting close. He's gonna use the Aegis as well, try and stay alive. The damage enough was mitigated.
No way.
In comes the World Serpent. They're trying to find what they can, but Froggy is gonna be the one who falls to the crush from Xander. World Serpent caused enough chaos as well to split members up from the Wildcats. Damage is there. Trizzle though finds the kill on Nacho just in time before that Odibo proc could take down Agent, and instead Chaos will find King falling yet again. This is a 3v4 so far favoring Illini Esports, and that's going to be another kill going the way of the solo laner, finding a double kill himself. And it's going to be Trizzle and Agent all alone to try and defend anything more. But with members backing, all aggression is going to stop.
Bit of a sloppy fight, in all honesty, from both sides there. Kentucky could very well have just said, okay, Agent Blur's dead. Like, they didn't get to back. That's on them. It sucks for the situation, but there's not really a whole lot of reason to try and pressure it. But instead, they do go and try and re-aggress on in. We then also see some slightly strange communication from Illini, where we see Not Warden kick square away from any wall. Agent Blur gets to just roam away for free. Froggy goes very aggressive, and then the target focus gets a bit scattershot from Illini. It's, all right, we've burnt Froggy down. Now who do we go on? We saw But Nacho jump on in and try to pick up Blur, but couldn't do so, so ends up falling to T-Trizzle. So it felt very much like 5 players individually trying to make a call rather than all 5 of them working on a single goal. So it's a bit awkward seeing that situation, and Kentucky, honestly, they shouldn't have been in that situation. They shouldn't have made that call, if I'm honest. At least that's how I personally would see that situation. Let it go, let them get the 1 pick. Nothing's up that you have to overly defend, and I guess the only thing you could really argue in defense of that is, well, we've got Oni minions, so they're not clearing those.
And that is a good, reasoning, except tier 2 and left's gone. You're trading out the tier 2 and mid, and the solo lanes, the tier 1 went down, but that's all that they're going to lose. At the end of the day, it ends up not hurting because the Fire Giant buff does fall off. Illini Blue do not find any more opportunity to push or get anything off of it. The Pyromancer comes up. Wildcats are the ones who take that down instead. We're back to a 5v5 available for this next Fire Giant dance. And this one's going to be spawning here in a few seconds, but it's not going to be that enhanced Fire Giant. We've got another almost 6 minutes till we get to that point.
And now we get to the tenderhooks dance of this. Nice turnaround and a drop kick, push back into the wall. Froggy finds themselves at half HP. And an ally trying to just capitalize on this. And a monster comes through, rips through one.
Nacho's gonna take down the other, getting Froggy. And it was an excellent hit on the Anima monster. Too much focus to proc off. Chaos is passive and not enough damage in return to take him down. Chaos is gonna find Agent as well. So far up on his own. finds himself in an awkward situation, taking down Fort Trizzle. King, the only two left standing in the Illini Blue, are knocking on the door of the Titan room. They're going to get through one of the first steps of there, and the Phoenix right-hand side is going to fall. All 5 members decide to back off, possibly look elsewhere, but they're going to go back, looks like, for this Fire Giant instead, and that Phoenix take without the Fire Giant buff is definitely a huge step for them.
It certainly is. Such a great look. This is the team that wanted to show up in game 1. This is their game that they wanted to play at this point. Second Fire Giant going down now for Illini, and that's all off of Not Warden. Whatever I said about how they hadn't really been showing up, making an impact in the early game, doesn't matter. They find the perfect loop around to start the CC train. Oh, pain. Straight onto Froggy. The perfect target. The person who has caused the most problems in these later stage team fights has been this cardio. So what do? Put them at half health. Make them use all that kit to disengage. And then follow it up with this Jormungandr. Then run it on down with everything they've got. Such a great look. Some beautiful ults coming through, and this is what we wanted to see. The last fight felt a little bit like everyone was doing their own thing. This fight, everyone knew who the target was. Everyone was working on the same page, and they're rewarded with not just the Fire Giant, but the Phoenix as well.
Little comparison to game number 1 this time around, we see it's going to be the mid laner for Illini Blue on top of the player damage charts. 21,000. Those Ama monster hits and crushes have definitely been having an impact here. As the next closest is 14k from Agent, then behind him by only around 100 damage, it's going to be Nacho. This mid and these ADCs have been the most impactful so far. Kentucky Wildcats, game number 1, they found themselves having had the win by this point off a big advantage. This time around, Illini Blue have found their own stride. The comeback has been applied, and they are the ones now having the advantage and pressure. No towers left standing for the Wildcats, only 2 Phoenixes, and this left-hand side is going to be sieged. However, the right-hand side where the fire minions are, it's not even halfway up the lane yet. The Wildcats, they have quite a bit of time to work with.
They certainly do, and their defense isn't too bad, but blink forward, looking like Sobek wanted to start some aggression. Look how quickly that health bar is gone!
Not the call that you really want to be making there from Thumb. It's now a 4v5 in favor of Illini, and they are taking advantage, surging forward. Not Warden going to grab a kill onto Agent. And we already see the double kill, a triple kill for Xander. And with that, the deicide, the game 2 decision has come through. The Titan is going to fall, and we're going to game number 3.
Illini were down, but they were not out. Coming back here in game number 2. They knew that they needed to try and change things up from game number 1. And at the start of the game, it looked like it was going to go the same way. That duo lane was decimated. But it doesn't matter what happens in the first 5 minutes when this game is 27. You have 22 minutes after that, and how they were able to come back into that is absolutely brilliant. And I'm so glad we're going to a game 3 with this set.
Definitely much better game we got to see out of Illini Blue here. And Wildcats, they were looking good for most of the game. Unfortunately, it does not come their way in the end. Game number 3 is going to have to see what they decide to change around. As Illini Blue, they made their adjustments for number 2. But to talk on that, we've got the desk ready and standing by.
Thank you very much, Vengeance and Blur. That was a pleasure to watch and a shock to see how it ended. I'm a little I'm a little stunned. I can't believe that the Sobek was all out there on his lonesome like that. Yeah.
You're just a crocodile trying to do crocodile things, man. And sometimes the dragons show up and just bite you. But no, I mean, that game to me, it started out really, really similar to game 1, right? I mean, lots of fighting around duo, and for the most part, Kentucky was winning it pretty convincingly. And then out of the blue, there comes the sound of an evil little girl with like sea monsters for legs, soloing Raijin several times. That's not the way we expect that matchup to go. Maybe late game, Scylla would be better, but the fact that Xander was able to step up and start really just creating pressure out of the Scylla pick in the mid lane, for me, is where this game started to turn around.
I absolutely agree with that. I think that the Scylla pick was the difference maker here, not to undermine the efforts of the rest of Illinois Blue at all, but
Right.
I just think that that was what allowed them to get over the early game pressure that had gone against them.
And then
'Cause
Xander just kind of passed off the baton to Warden, and Warden starts literally kicking ass on the Gilgamesh. Um, and it, and then eventually Nacho starts to bring things back around as well with the one solo kill. And then hey, guess what? We're a 5-man team and we have late game Scylla and a Fafnir. That's hard to play into. And I think there were definitely mistakes from both teams. And there was certainly a way for Kentucky to have won that game. But Illini Blue was able to take their game plan, this group up around the Fafnir style, and play through their backline very effectively.
Yeah, it was just it looked oppressive to try and fight into, and I think there was a little bit of pressure onto University of Kentucky to try and be a hero and make a big play all of a sudden, and it just led to a little bit of a lack of discipline, some bad positioning, and some fights go against you, and before you know it, the game's out of reach.
And it's kind of that feeling of, we got this, game one was easy. And then all of a sudden you open your eyes and you're like, oh crap, they have Fire Giant now. Uh-oh. And, it happens to everybody, man. And in this case, it happened in Kentucky.
Well, that was game one and game two. They're down
Indeed.
past behind us now. We're going to take a look at the picks and bans for game three as we
I'm
get set
excited.
and ready here. It's going to be big. I'm super hyped that we have made it to a game three. I didn't want this to be a 2-0 slugfest, and it has delivered in a big way. That second game had me on the edge of my seat. I audibly
Mhm.
made during that last team fight.
Yeah. No, I mean, we love exciting games that go the distance, right? And matches are the same way. You go 3-game set, and it's just automatically going to be a much more fun set to watch. And looks like we got P's and B's, one for one for the teams, Kentucky versus Illinois Blue, and Kentucky, as the loser of the last set, have opted to be first pick yet again, surprising literally nobody. And we'll see what Illinois Blue decides to do with their P's and B's. I'm going to be interested. Obviously, we've got the Odins and the Tiamats of the world that are probably just going to be banned. But we saw the Ares ban from Illinois in game two. I wonder if Kentucky goes and bans something that Illinois played, or Illinois says, actually, we don't want you to play Raijin this game, and they ban that. Or maybe Kentucky says, no, Scylla,
I
that
was gonna
literally
say
was 12-2. Let's not let Xander touch that character ever again with a 10-foot pole.
that was my next question. Is like, do you think we see a Scylla ban here because it was so dominant in that second game? I would ban it. I think I'm more afraid of Scylla
Mhm.
than a lot of the things that were banned out from University of Kentucky, especially in the later stages of the draft when they ended up picking
Sure.
up like the Ymir and the Athena. I'm
Mhm.
definitely more scared of the Scylla than I am an Athena.
And then I go back to the same argument that I made after game one, where was it the picks? Kinda. Was it how we played the game? Yes. And maybe it's less of a Scylla problem and more of a, I'm Raijin and I played around AoE abilities poorly, or I walked into a wave I shouldn't have, or I tried to ego a fight when I didn't have a power spike, something like that. I mean, I don't. I wasn't watching super closely in the mid lane, I have to say, so I'm not super sure what exactly happened for Xander to get 2 solo kills against a Raijin. But I'm not convinced it was a Scylla problem as much as a I just misplayed problem.
Mm. Well, interesting. Gonna have to see what they end up doing as far as mid laners go in this third game. We've had
Yep.
no two mid laners played twice, right? We had
hmm
we had a Merlin MLF in the first game, and then we had
Yeah, I'm
Scylla
trying to say
Raijin.
your name shorthand too, and it doesn't work as well as when you can just call it in team comms, huh?
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. I'm trying to come up with some sort of shorthand. But yeah, so
Faye?
that's Faye. Faye's not
hmm
bad.
That's
But
what
yeah,
I was
so
trying to. That was what I suggested people call her before the more commonplace shorthand stuck better than Faye. We'll say
yes.
that. Chat, you know what
So
it is, but I'm not saying it.
yeah, we're not trying to get demonetized, banned from Twitch here.
Mhm. It
Um,
will be an Ares ban. Interestingly, they really thought this Ares was that scary, and hey, maybe it was, and it certainly the player certainly performed well on it.
but the Cerberus
Cerberus,
slips through, and that means it'll immediately get snatched up. Cerberus very strong. Both teams prioritizing him very highly
over
so far.
Ardio.
Yeah,
That is surprising to me, and I will say that last game, Kentucky's solo laner did not go Vamp Shroud within at least the first 3 items. I don't know if he bought it or when he bought it, but he literally was not Magical King Arthur because he literally did not have the starter item that allows him to be Magical King Arthur. So I don't know. Maybe we just didn't watch Ardio pop off at the playoffs, or we didn't think that we needed that item. Maybe we didn't want the item into another magical. But it was just really strange to me. That wasn't picked up. Gilgamesh, I didn't say Gilgamesh this time. Gilgamesh, and on her the hovers for Illini Blue. Makes a lot of sense to me. I think Warden had a great game on the Gilgamesh, had a ton of impact mid and late. And the on her pick did its job.
I love that it actually takes you some physical willpower to keep from saying Gilgamesh.
I mean,
That makes
he
me
is
laugh.
Gilgamesh. He is Gilgamesh now. Same way I can't call the Oracle Harpies, and I call them Oreos. Like, I don't know what it is, man. It's Gilgamesh. Full stop.
Well, on her now being played in all 3 games, very heavily prioritized, and on the other side,
What year is
wanting
it?
to pick it up before they ban it out and the end, University of
Zilla?
Kentucky covering the Ymir, and they'll take it. So that will not be in their second round of bans because they're going to pick it up beforehand, and they're also going to take the Scylla, wanting to snatch it up before Illinois Blue can use it against them.
Yeah, fair enough. Ymir's a strong support pick, has a great surprise, people. Great 4v4s. I wonder where Kentucky's playing the game. Maybe through their Ymir. And Scylla apparently is OP now in this set anyway, and is soloing out great pressure mages. So it's going to be the Scylla and Ymir picked for Kentucky, and the Sobek hover for Illini Blue is interesting. I know I prefer Sobek in solo. Both of these teams, or at least Kentucky, has considered him a support pick still. I think picking Sobek support into a Scylla is just asking to die. But we'll see. It can work, but I think it's just a super safe pick into the Cerberus, and I would expect it to go solo.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was also noting that both of the Guardians taken early here for University of Kentucky pair extremely well with high area damage. Cough, Scylla, cough.
Right?
Uh,
Yeah. The Serb Ymir, great,
yeah,
excellent
both of
point.
them. They got the freeze, you got the wall, you got the Stygian torment. Everything designed to put people where the Scylla can blow them up. So it's team synergy. I think really going early in the way of University in Kentucky right now.
Interesting. We still have the Awilish ban and the Ardio ban. And I'm not sure I would have. See, it's weird because Ardio is one of those characters at this point where it's like, I think I could just play that character as long as I have fingers, a keyboard, and Vamp Shroud. And maybe not even need my mouse as long as my abilities are on instant cast. But neither team has looked great with her. So it's banned and it makes sense, but at the same time, maybe we don't need to ban Ardio. Just a thought.
It is interesting. It feels like a formality a little bit from my perspective, more than actually like, oh, that Ardio was really bothersome. We need to take her off the table. It feels like, well, what do we ban? Well, Ardio's
Yeah.
strong, so I guess we'll ban her. The Hell ban, though,
I'm
that I
surprised she keeps
understand.
making it this far, man. Hell is okay at playoffs. Hell was like 100% pick ban, and I think she was 100% pick ban with a 100% chance that she gets first picked if she wasn't banned. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if she wasn't first picked, she was almost certainly second, third, every single set. Like that is how good this character is. And if you need to figure out how good, or like how to play her and how to make her that good, heal the wave on wave 1 with your 3, and then 3 the enemy wave and auto attack their archers. You will hit 2 first, and you will have a kill chance, and you will beat them at mid camp fights 100% of the time because you do that much more burst than they do.
Well, the Giannis will be picked up here.
Mhm.
Pretty strong, very adaptable mage that we tend to see in the solo lane. He has those portals that can do a lot for his team. He provides big burst damage, but also utility. So dual threat coming out here. And the
Giannis pairs well with
Ninja.
double guardian comp because you can have some extra damage. I don't like Giannis with Sobek because I don't think you kill somebody with a Giannis 2 alpha Sobek pluck. But it's not necessarily terrible.
And the other side, we see Ninja and Heimdall. Heimdall, we see all the time. He's pretty meta. He's very good. But
Right.
I haven't seen Ninja in a very long time.
I mean, you know what? Picks in this game, and I know I'm harping on like, oh my gosh, hell's so meta. Why aren't we seeing her picked? Rah, 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 rah. But at some point, like, you just pick the character you're good at. And if this guy's got a sick Naja, pick him the frickin' Naja, man. And I guess the same thing can be said for the Jormungandr pick for random chaos on Illini Blue. Like, he didn't have a great game on the RDO. He picks Jormungandr and says, haha, I have money arrow. Haha, I kill the wave faster than you can. Haha. And then he rotates to team fights and pushes 4 and is like, haha, you cannot kill me and I do damage. So, you know what? Pick what you like, man. That is half the battle in these games.
For picks can mean wins, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to just making you feel able and capable to take a team fight. Sometimes knowing what you're doing is better than playing the most meta thing there is out there.
Yep, I'm with
So,
you.
those were some excellent picks and bans. I'm super hyped to see how they go, especially this Ninja. Want to see how that play goes out. As we enter game 3, we're going to throw it back over to our casters, Blur and Vengeance, to take us home.
Well, Blur, game number 3, do or die for both teams. Winner takes all. The official best of 1 is here. And honestly, I don't know how much more of a comp we really could have been looking forward to here. We've got the Neja Silicama back out. Emir's emerged yet again. But the Jormungandr on her, Sobek, and Gilgamesh are still all in the same hands.
They are, but we have a Trident 2 one-trick comp. Silanaja. This is a very old comp going back to the days of Cringe Crew and Titan, where in a best of 1, Cringe Crew said, let's just run Silanaja. And it doesn't matter if we can only do this one game. We only need to win one game. I love this. The reason I've been playing with a little bit Naja and Joust, because I'm just a scumbag. But either way, Naja's not someone we've really seen at all in jungle, because we've recently been transitioning to this where we want to have gods who proc these in-hand items well, and we want gods who could be tanky, and Naja never really felt like it fulfilled that role super well, so I am excited to see how T-Trizzle is going to be able to play this one.
Well, yet again, Wildcats applying as much pressure as they can early on in this dual lane, finding damage off freeze even, as you see the level 2 procs come through. But yet again, the first kill is just not going to happen. And this is just the same story as game number 1, game number 2. Wildcats early on this dual lane apply as much pressure as possible. And Illini, there's not a whole lot they're able to do about it. The good leap away there from Nacho, the dash way as well from Kadir, so keeping themselves safe, but they are definitely burning through their pots quickly.
They certainly are, and look at what Agent has opted to pick up for their starter in the Death's Toll, so a huge amount of sustain, really trying to keep the gas pedal going when it comes to being aggressive in this lane, or just being able to solo it out, because we see an early rotation from Thumb over to mid.
Interesting decision, and unfortunately just does not pay off, as we see Not Warden able to get out with the help of his mid laner Xander providing a portal. But over in solo, Foggy is pretty low. It looks like Chaos isn't going to try and pursue that anymore, as he's found himself under the tier 1 tower. He's going to be allowed to heal back up. Back over to Duo. We see Oracles are getting done by Trizzle, and what we saw last game, he could be making his way over to Duo here next if he chooses to. But it looks like the communication this time is not going to be to do so, as they're not applying the same amount of pressure in this situation. It actually looks like Wildcats may be allowing themselves to slow down in this dual lane a little bit.
I don't mind this call right now. We've already seen a little bit of aggression, but there's the pluck. No look. Great freeze forces the beads to come through, but the Impale is still on the mark.
Interesting decision to beads just to try and get the aggressive kill here, but it's going to allow Codiris to try and get close. Gonna back away from this instead, just because we see Agent hover around his crystals, but in comes Trizzle. The sash is good, the leap away,
Beautiful.
but he still gets the kill anyway. Instead, we're gonna see the chase down onto Codiris after the first blood coming through for the jungler. And the good dash, the blink, not good enough to get him in range for a quick freeze. You're gonna have to let him go.
Block it. But with all that time, Not Warden's gone on a little bit of an invading spree. With a little bit of help from Chaos to take the blue buff, they will also grab the speed buff, as T-Trizzle was not over in that area on the map. So, giving up first blood for the speed, obviously, in the eyes of the jungler, the game is lost. The speed buff is gone, so not necessarily the worst trade all in all, especially with Najar getting that extra movement speed in the passive, if I remember correctly. So a nice little look for Najar, and I love the fact that we saw the waiting out on where Nacho goes to try and jump, because wherever they jump there were minions around and they wanted to make sure the universal ring toss bounces. It's a little bit of fickle, but if they're closer to it, it's more likely going to hit, so I like that there. To see a little bit of a 2v1 coming through the realms comes on out. Is it going to be enough? No, it's just a solo kill coming out in the end.
Unfortunate there for Agent. He gets aggressive and he starts using the horn, and unfortunately for him, Codiris is there. So even though he got the ultimate off, it doesn't matter. The support with the help of the minions is going to do all the damage needed. Take him out of this one. So we're back to an even kill stat line. It's going to be the support who's got this over in the dual lane instead of the ADC.
Which is a little unfortunate, but we've spoken about it before. Sobek needs to go ahead and get themselves a lead, and this will help. But on the flip side, the Ymir also kind of needs that similar idea when it comes to being aggressive. They found themselves over towards the solo side, as Illini have shown a little bit of an attempt to try and focus this, with Random Chaos being so instrumental in the last game. It's important that they try and find that. Pluck comes through, and out onto the train comes Yana Snipes there as well. Will it land? Doesn't look like it has.
As he comes down, there is Chaos to finish the kill onto Trizzle. Unable to find anything for himself. Illini Blue find themselves a 2-1 kill this time around. The early game, it's starting to favor them instead of the Wildcats, which, sure, compared to game 1-2, it might look a little concerning, but with this comp, I don't really think Kentucky's all that concerned.
Not particularly. Their team fight stage with the Najar. The Najar is basically here as an ult bot to try and set up for anyone else. The big thing that Illini are looking at is what can they do to disrupt that. And if that's at this point is either putting the Najar behind, so it's more difficult for them to set this up, getting someone so far ahead, they don't have to worry about it, then I like this idea. And Not Warden going back to this Gilgamesh has been a really nice look for them. Already finished off the Brawler's Beat Stick just to try and help out against any healing coming through, which there is a little bit of in the kits and in the builds so far. But giving Not Warden something that they felt comfortable on. Between Game 1 and Game 2, that difference from Osiris to Gilgamesh was similar to night and day. Such a great look and so much more impactful in the team fights, which is how it looks like both these teams want to play their junglers.
It's definitely a good playstyle to have, and focusing on the team fights instead of just focusing on yourself. After all, team plays win the game along with objectives.
There is no I in team, but there is in win. So everyone going in and working up well is not too bad, as just lurking in the waters falls just from a freeze. Alright, Thumb, I see you there.
Definitely interesting, but it may have been a consideration with Trizzle there that it ultimate may have been coming through. Unfortunately for him, he just ends up using it in return for nothing. So that's like a good ultimate for Wildcats to have in mind. That is down, along with Xander's through space and time has been used at some point recently. So gonna see two ultimates down that are pretty impactful in any fight or rotation possibility. Wildcats gonna take advantage of that. they might find themselves in a good situation moving forward. As we see Trizzle, he comes through the sash, the ultimate onto Xander, and he may find the kill. It's going to go the way of King, though. He's able to step up, get that crush out, finish that off, get his jungler the support he needed, along with the assist. Almost finding himself in a little bit of trouble trying to find his way back. We did see two members, Illini, rotate in, but here we are back in the duel lane, a little 1v1. But Nacho recognizes this situation and decides he just wants to back off, get some safe, secure onto these minions.
It's not been too bad at this point in time, so I like what we've been seeing coming out from both these two teams. A little bit of a 1v1. Agent Blur takes down Nacho in a quick flurry of blows there. Ultimate was used as well. No chance for the Nacho to beat. Now we're going to see Warden try and turn up. Not able to find anything with the drop kick, but a great look. And this is now kind of what Wildcats want to do. It's now the sort of, okay, T-Trizzle and Little King DJ, they've got their set. They know how they want to run this show. It's how do they find times to do that? They need to burn beads, okay? Let's see if we can't look for little skirmishes. And I like this, especially Agent Blur showing up. They've had a very difficult time in Game 1 and Game 2 especially. Now being able to go for this, and Little King DJ off the CC coming through from the 3v3 in mid, able to pull themselves out another kill. We saw what this Scylla did last game. DJ was just unstoppable in the late game with no check. Now you've given them a bunch of gods who say, here, let me make this easier for you. It just makes things feel so much better. I love that they're playing the hot hand here, or at least trying to.
Game number 2, we definitely saw a dominant performance out of the Scylla. DJ is getting to show off his own performance on the Scylla in game number 3 here. And is coming with a little bit of a better combination out of the jungler and support. And so far, there's good recognition that last fight the Xander beads were still down, forced him into a rough spot, finding his second death as well. We're gonna have to see how this transfers to late game though, because it doesn't mean that Xander is out of this yet. He still has a powerful ultimate. Objective steal is available, and through it, we're in the solo lane. Illini Blue, they're the ones trying to put the pressure on. The Froggy finding himself in an awkward spot, finally does fall to not Warden, who's low, but King with the rotation finds the trade out instead. Chaos, after burning the ultimate, is gonna be able to find his way out, but it did come at the cost of his jungler instead.
Which is a bit of a rough spot. I don't even know what necessarily they're looking for. It may have been rotation, but Wildcats aren't content to let this go. A beautiful wall cuts off the path from the Jormungandr, and the Universal Ring will find Trizzle another kill for their belt here. A lot of CDR online for them. No ult, and the ult available to them if they so wish. Looking for more targets. Still just trying to see what they can squeak out right now.
Good strip away in the jungle from Trizzle, even finding that last harpy that we saw Kadiris working on, managing to get that with the ring toss, taking away a little bit of farm. Even though it's just one harpy, it's still XP and gold taken away from support, which can be a big deal. But over in duo, we see the solo kill coming through for Nacho, who's low himself, and Trizzle may have actually been trying to rotate there, but with Kadiris behind him, he's not going to be able to find what he's looking for. Instead, he's going to have to go back through his own side of the jungle, especially with not Warden showing up to help take away that purple buff on their own side. They may find a little bit of a fight here, both supports and junglers meeting each other in the middle after Oracle's getting taken down.
So duo lane's just become an ego lane for these two now. It's who can solo who in the most either flamboyant or continuous fashion. Both now sat at 1, 2, and 1. But for my money, this kind of doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of difference to how these comps want to play. Illini kind of need the on her to be aggressive early, so that's what they're trying to do. Agent Blur's trying to buy as much time as they can to keep the focus away from taking down this Scylla and the CC that's being set up for them. So all in all, it kind of feels like if neither of them are winning, neither of them are losing. But the later this game goes, I have to start wondering, what else could you be doing instead of soloing out the other ADC?
Yeah, and at some point, the big question does become, if you can find a kill that someone's down for about 20 seconds, great. But if you have that pressure, what else do you have available? The Gold Fury is up. Greatest Scorpion on the Fire Giant site is still up as well. And speaking of what you could be doing, what you could not be doing, is going in over aggressively there as Drizzle does all alone. But we do see a counter kill as the rotation coming from Froggy's going to pay off with the Stygian Torment. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to find a second kill onto Xander. The wall, though, as you mentioned, is good enough to keep him out. But the return damage coming from the mid of Illini has thrown King into an awkward situation. Even the World Servant being used, but yet again, the damage isn't there. Finally, a kill happens. It's going to fall onto Froggy, trying to do everything he could to help Peel. Fortunately, it's going to end up costing him his life.
So that whole sting starts when T-Trizzle misses a universal ring toss on a minion wave. I didn't want to let that one go. Sorry, Trizzle. I know you're in chat. I'm not letting that one go. Beautiful little combo there. Forces through the realms to come through, and Illini are able to burn the Gold Fury. No one on Wildcard's able to come in. They will lose the support in trade, but honestly, you were planning on doing that anyway. Let's be real here. You were always planning to sacrifice the Sobek.
Yeah, honestly, that support, he was the one peeling, zoning. He did his job. Yes, it did cost him his life, but they got the objective they were looking for. Pretty essentially uncontested, no worries for them. And all that is from the jungler of Wildcat being a little aggressive, a little too early, all on his own, and it just costing him solo laner's life in the end. Yes, for one, but it's not exactly worth when you lose 2 for a Gold Fury.
Very true at that point. And ultimately, Wildcats still haven't really seen a dampener to their core comp. The Najjar's ahead of this Gilgamesh. The Scylla's ahead of the Janus. The Ymir is on par and still building this similar sort of tanky build that we're seeing here. We've also started seeing some of those rotations coming through from the solo lane. Both solo lane members on each team really showing a big impact as this game has gone on, and Chaos, I feel, is trying to pull a little bit more weight than necessarily they have had to do for previous games. So now we're going to see whether or not that ends up coming through. It's a 2v1 situation, but Blur ends up actually getting taken down there.
Oh, we see Nacho traded out by Thumb, Aegis and Beads both having been burned in that fight by him. But as you mentioned, Agent getting taken down, not having Aegis, level 14, and only has 1 relic. So he's only gonna be, he was not able to save his own life with the Aegis availability that he could have had. Instead ends up falling to the Desert Fury, which for Nacho in that situation, I would say was pretty good to be able to get off.
So we have boost beads, which is where you use your beads after the CC has happened and you died. Does that mean we now have the zap beads or zap Aegis, where you don't use them at all and could have survived if you had done?
It could be, but now we're gonna have to
coin it.
Pyromancer fight as Wildcats with the other monster are gonna be the ones to secure that. They're not going to hunt anyone down either. They did have Warden low, unable to finish him off as he gets away. But back to your point, I thought the Zap Relic was when he used it when he didn't need to.
No, that's boost. That's boost beads. Like, you'll get Sobek plucked, and then as you're in the air, you'll use beads. That's your boost bead. That was the Zapman play, where we saw the Jingwei with beads Aegis just not use them and throw the game on the Titan hold, or Titan siege. And cost the game.
I remember the Zap relics being like he used them when he was dying, no matter what, or just. No, anyway, we're getting a little off track. We're not here to be MSPL players. We all know.
It's part of Smite history.
We all know the memes. We all know the memes, but we do have a game going on, and they are trying to continue the action to get us off of this anyways, as we see Illini Esports, the jungle, ADC and support going after Thumb, and through space and time was actually used to help make sure that kill was happening. In the meantime, Agent is going to use his ultimate, find his way out as well, and now using the Aegis, a little interesting there. Must have been expecting a lot more aggression than what actually happened. Trizzle coming up. It's interesting to see Wildcats do. They're just one at a time going in, having to run away. They're not putting themselves in a position to help each other. And Illini, they're just willingly happy to give free poke.
Their comp really kind of likes this sort of brawling, especially with the Giannis being able to reposition members, cause some trouble for where members are being able to stand, thinking they're safe. It's nice to see. So, and I also have this kind of disruptive comp. If you look at a lot of the CC, it's knockups or pushbacks or pullaways or things like that. So it's very difficult for Kentucky to find spots where they're safe with how far they can get disrupted at that point. So you see even there, Asian Blur, oh, it's just the Sobek. It should be okay, but you can't just stand at the tower line and think that you're safe there, or even necessarily in it now that they're that as tanky as they are. Opts to just completely disengage from that situation and drop the pressure there.
You do see Primal Fury spawning here soon. Fire Giant still standing. We're only 18 minutes in, and this game number 3 kills even across the board. Tower advantage is in favor of Illini, but we see over into Agent. Finds himself in an awkward situation, able to get himself out with the crystals, but Thumb going in to assist might find himself in trouble. Stygian Torment used is going to force out the beads. Agent will come back and take down Warden. Nacho was able to leap away just in time before getting pulled in, using his beads as well. So the Illini, they're going to regroup around their ADC, try and protect them best they can. This does leave the Primal Fury wide open. We already see Kadir's. He's making a charge full set. I'm not going to use to try and secure. It is just in time as through space and time nearly connecting to strip it away. But the fight is going to be forced onward, and they're going to take a look, try and find Trizzle or Thumb. The blink comes through the pluck. They do have the Amir out of position, but the wall keeps him still separated. The blink just in time as Chaos nearly find that last hit to take him down.
Absolutely clean disengage there from the Wildcats. Just such a nice look of, unlike game 2 where we saw Illinois just focus fire the Phoenix, don't care about the enemies who were right on top of you. This was Illinois are coming in, let's just burn it down before they get a chance and then get out as clean as we can. When you've got I'm a Monster and ice shards from Ymir coming through and the wall as well, it's a lot easier to be able to deal with that. The Fire Giant here though attempt is a bit risky. Wildcats are here and they know this is happening. They are not letting it go down.
No, the awareness though, Illini recognized who was coming up. They turn trying to find King, but instead they're gonna end up finding Trizzle and finally taking him down. But there has been enough damage done that if numbers follow up, it could happen, but it doesn't matter. A double kill coming in for Nacho, taking down Thumb. You see Xander finds himself getting one, but King will trade out Warden at last. He's all alone. And finally coming in is Agent from around the corner and do what he can to try and stop this Illini esports team. But this Fire Giant is still standing. This is a 4 versus 2 situation. They could very well take down this Fire Giant, or at least try and bait someone into a death if they wanted.
They really could, and that's an unfortunate situation. It's the double-edged sword of the comp that Wildcats have got. It's, okay, Naja takes someone up, and then we set up on them when they get down. You've got that entire time for the rest of Illini to cause some troubles. Good pluck out from the Bifrost means that Asian Blood is going to sit in black and white for the next 48 seconds. And now, well, they don't necessarily go for the Fire Giant. They've got Pyromancer. Fire Giant could still be on the table, but just to finish off on that point, as we see the Naja taking up Warden, Warden's like, guys, I'm in the air. I should be able to survive. At worst, I'll get my ult off. Goes for the ult, gets that up. Everyone else is focused on where's the Scylla? Who's landing on the disruption? Where is that? There was no landing finale for not Warden to have to deal with. It was just the Naja, and that enables Illini to break through and start picking up multiple members. Little King DJ as well, just by presence of 2 Guardians alone, burns Aegis, then has to burn Beads out of fear that if they end up falling, it just falls apart for the entire team.
Oh, after the Pyromancer, both teams decide to go their separate ways farming. And the Fire Giant going to be ignored as it looks like Wildcats themselves have taken advantage in the ward positioning around it. Draugr is going to go the way of Illini esports fairly easily, Nacho being in lane and getting the tier 1 tower as well with help from his minions. So the repositioning will be coming out as we see Illini Blue. They are choosing to go back to the Fire Giant, knowing that members of Wildcats are most likely rotating around, trying to prevent minions from stacking and pushing further. but the recognition has been made. The Wildcats are gonna come back grouping around, and hopefully Agent doesn't get caught out here, because if he's recognized to be all alone, one blink could send him back to the fountain unwillingly, and instead it's gonna be a siege at this tier 2 in mid. King gonna find his way back under the tower as well. I'm a monster available. The Illini, they do need to be careful, but they go full send in. We already see Chaos doing everything he can. This tower is falling to half health. Rush coming through over the wall, but it's not going to do a whole lot. And instead, with Coderas taking a little too much poke, he's going to have to back off. Staging Torment comes through. It's only going to hit Chaos, so no one is going to get pulled. Instead, he's going to find a stun and return the crush, but the Aegis is good to stay alive. The wall, the portal, though, is keeping him back, but Trizzle finally finds Nacho on the back end, takes one into the sky as the World Serpent comes out. On landing, he's going to get knocked up back into it, though. Coderas finds Agent. Warden and Nacho both have fallen down. And Thumb, he's going to go after Chaos. He gets the freeze. Sander finds Trizzle, and King will take Chaos down. It's a 3v2 favoring the Wildcats right now. The remaining 2 members of Illini Blue have decided they need to get out.
That was a bloodbath down at the tier 2 tower here at 23 minutes in. Nice look to see how Trizzle works it. Unfortunately, going a little bit gung-ho towards the end, blinking back in to try and keep the CC chain going, ends up eating an unstable vortex going through from Xander, who has started to show up. 0-2 and 0-2 to begin the game, now 3-2, so definitely feeling a little bit better, but there's only so much the Giannis can do with the limited range that they have. The through space and time comes through and hits, but unfortunately, as soon as the ult comes through from T-Trizzle, picking up 1, there's no way that Illini can come in and try and mount that same kind of defense, given the fact it was under or on at least the very edge of that tier 2 tower. So they try and back up. They do manage to pick up Agent Blur, but then Chaos is left just a little bit too deep, trying to mount their own defense. Used all 3 of the World Serpent sort of jumps down aggressively. A lot of the time we see the first 2 go in and then the last one's used for retreat. This time we didn't see that, and so they end up the creek without any kind of power to their name or teammates to help them. And so it ends pretty much in a wash, but one team does go ahead and grab the Fury, whereas we see Kentucky now trying for Fire Giant.
They're doing this in response, but they have to remember the Illini, they've got the through space and time, and they make it there immediately after the Wildcats take down, so Froggy will fall. Trizzle, he's going to set up a kill, though, for his mid laner and take down Nacho, finding himself in an awkward situation now. Has been sealed off with the rest of the enemy team by that Amir wall. They're doing good so far to keep alive their teammates, and he's doing everything he can to be a distraction, and it's working. Gordon's gonna go for the crush, can do a little bit of damage. The drop kick will be off the mark, but he gets pulled back, knocked up, and finally Warden will be able to take him down. A 2-for-1 on this Fire Giant pull so far with the Wildcats getting it. They're gonna lose a little bit more.
Certainly are, especially this tier 2 tower is going to fall. Oni minions pushing up in the mid and on the left-hand side as well. There is an Oni wave now going to try and wrap their way on the door, but it will be met by the Scylla, so no such luck there. But this is good for Illini right now. They've gone and got themselves 3,000 gold in a situation where they don't have the Fire Giant. They're the ones sieging up here. T-Trizzle is around, will get their mantle or their Magi's prop, so the best looks try and see is the last tier 2 tower standing. Might be a little bit harder to take here.
Stygian Torment comes through as Trizzle uses the ultimate to get closer to the enemy. AD sees an Agent, will find Coderas. Nice little stun on the Chaos allows King to pick that one up through space and time. Going to be used to get out of dodge to keep his team, rest of his team alive, as that is a 2-for-none trade after taking down a couple tier 2 towers. There's only 1 tower for the Wildcats standing, but with this advantage, they may be able to find some towers themselves, possibly even this one up. But hey, oh my goodness, Nacho playing aggressive even while being all alone, manages to be able to leap away in time, not get CC'd away, find himself in possible danger. Tier 2 in this left-hand side will finally fall for Illini Blue. Wildcats, they're going to rotate, looks like, towards this mid and possibly take this one down.
It's a bit strange, I think, for Illini there. They get the they get the right side, solo side, tier 2 tower. They get mid tier 2 tower. They've got minions pushing in, but for some reason their pathing is super aggressive, as now it's their turn to try and mount a defense on a tier 2. Frenzy's popped, and they are successful in pushing members away.
Illini popping that frenzy. They find Shrizzle, making him take one spill. Froggy's having to do what he can to get out as well. We see Thumb, he's getting slowed. The blink is available just in time to get him out. And this will be disengaged for the Wildcats, finding themselves in safety. This will open up the Pyromancer for the Illini Blue. And this Wildcats, they've got to mount a good defense coming up here soon. Be able to take some objectives away if they want to win this one.
And it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. Illini, though, find themselves about 3,000 gold up. Fire Giant just left on 2 members of Kentucky. It is the 2 carries who have had a pretty good game going, especially Lil King DJ 9-0-5 at this point in time. But like you said, it's going to be difficult. Neither one of these teams can just walk in and take whatever they like. They both now sort of tested that waters and realized it ain't gonna be that easy, especially with how these 2 teams have built these kind of comps and are certainly playing them in the later stages of this game. With that said, though, builds are starting to finalize. A little bit of crit coming through from the Burnt Nacho, and an Executioner, an item we used to see a lot of, but not really seen a whole lot of recently. I don't mind this, especially when you want to try and help not Warden get more damage out of their kit, but those are the only 2 physical damage dealers, so I'm surprised it's not a dominance.
Oh, with 2 ultimates being burned from the Wildcats and the solo and support, they're going to force the beads onto not Warden, and he's going to go about half health. Through space and time is going to be used as well, just to make sure that the jungler is able to get out no matter what.
Okay.
But it's going to cost them the tier 1, which honestly at this point in the game, it's not too bad of a loss. They did get 2 ultimates in exchange for 1 ult and beads. Unfortunately, that is through space and time, but I think it's understandable of why we would see it there. We do see Wildcats. They are having to back off as the remaining of members of Illini Blue have started surging forward, getting ready for this next Fire Giant spawn that may end up being enhanced, as we are 29.5 minutes in this game number 3. 18 kills to 17 favoring Illini. 3 towers standing to 1. And it's about a 4K gold lead as well. These teams getting ready for this dance. Wildcats gonna have to emerge from their own side of the jungle. You see Chaos taking a very aggressive positioning along with Kodiris. They want to find that first kill, because they know that 1 kill could open up the rest of this game.
It could, but keep in mind as well, Chaos, that in that submerged form, acts as a sonar. They will keep vision, but hold that thought, blink straight in, plucks the Ymir. Not necessarily the best target, but it'll work for now. Stygian Torment comes down, doesn't get anyone, and it looks like Annihilate might want to keep this one going.
Beads were used by Nacho to make sure he doesn't get picked up, but he's falling low anyway. Trizzle and Froggy falling low through space and time, being used yet again. Not finding any kills though. It's Froggy the leap over. He's gonna try and get away. They did not decide to come through and focus the solo. They go and try and find themselves one of the carries, the jungler, Trizzle. He's going to be the new target. Finally falls to Xander. But Thumb finds Warden in return. Chaos on the back end of the load. Agent finds 1. King finds another. And just like that, it's a 3-for-1. The Wildcats have found the opening they've been looking for.
Illini push just a little bit too hard on that. Burnt Nacho gets burnt out so quickly, and you can see how much of a difference it makes having that consistent, reliable damage coming through. Diana's not able to get through the portal, gets shut down by Froggy as well, just to end off the take. That's not all. Now to wrap it up in a nice, neat little bow. Enhanced Fire Giant for Kentucky now. Illini Esports finding themselves in an uphill battle. They have struggled this entire game, come back, beaten their way into this game, and now it just seems to have fallen apart at the last hurdle here. The Fire Giant, they had complete control over it, and yet they were the ones who opted to push forward to try and make sure and guarantee a muscle out win on that Fire Giant, and in the end up losing it entirely.
Like the decision from the Wildcats there, with even with members backing, recognizing that it's only the support standing, they go ahead and take down that tier 2 in mid, get themselves a little bit more gold, and allow themselves a rotation over for this Primal Fury. Gonna try and do everything they can to take it down, even burning the ultimate from Thumb just to guarantee the extra damage is there to get it down. He's gonna have to back though. He was one of the few that didn't have a chance to yet. It's going to be a little bit of a reset, regroup, and try and find themselves an opening to end this game. 32 minutes in, and they've finally turned things around.
They certainly have. We can take a quick peek at the graphs. Just want to see how this one has played out. Because, yeah, if you look at this, look at that gold difference. Kentucky hasn't had that gold lead barely ever. They've been keeping it around 3,000 gold, but for the first time this game, they're now finding themselves with this gold lead. And Illini have done a fantastic job holding it. Now they're going to have to see how they play around it. Tower-wise, there's one tower apiece left, but those Phoenixes are where things are going to really start to matter. That said, it is not all doom and gloom for Illini here. They can still mount a defense here. Whether or not they're going to try and hold on this tower, I wouldn't be surprised if they just let this one go here, though.
It is enhanced fire giant after all, so projections will be stripped away unless you can find yourselves a good positioning to take down these carries. Bringing up is going to be the best idea as they do decide to do just that. We're going to see a 5v5 grouping on this right-hand Phoenix. Wildcats taking one step closer to closing this game out. The blink in from both the support and solo. The freeze off the mark. Stygian Torment unable to find anyone either. No relics burned in exchange. Desert Fury coming along with the World Serpent. Trizzle, he tries to find the ultimate, but the beads instead from Nacho will not get taken up in the air. The Phoenix finding himself around half health. Warden comes through. He's going to try and do anything. And the ultimates from Wildcats, they're just being burned by beads. But King finds the kill he needed. He changed it to a double kill. Make the triple kill. He's going to be looking for another. He's unable to find the damage there. Will he still get the quadra? He does. Looking for the penta. Will he find Xander? He's going for it. Takes a little too much poke, so he says, no. I'm going to have to get that up and just settle for the 4K.
One Scylla ult can change the course of the game. It can win you the game and the set. Xander will take them down. Titans putting up a hell of a fight though, but Agent Blur's there and that's all that's needed. One Scylla ult, 4 kills, 1 Phoenix. That's the game. That's the set. Kentucky take it 2-1.
Just great. Standing their ground for the Wildcats, not giving up on this one. Unfortunately for Illini, they had to lead for so much of this game. And unfortunately for them, the Wildcats do to them in game number 3 what they did in game number 2. And they're going to go ahead and take this set 2-1 against the Illini Blue. But to break down everything we've seen tonight, we've got Voiceless One and Illy back on the desk.
Hello, everybody. We are back here on the desk. It's the Voiceless One and Illy. We're going to break down that last game. That was incredibly close. And once again, we saw the Scylla pop off, Illy.
Yeah.
That was a powerful display.
I mean, I feel like I'm watching Last Worlds, right? I mean, Scylla is suddenly S+ tier in this set. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Blue had a really hard time getting onto the Scylla, but what more can you draft to get onto a backliner than a Jormungandr and a Giannis, right? I mean, those are great dive characters, but I mean, sometimes your Giannis ults hit the enemy carries and sometimes they don't. And sometimes that character feels like a bit of a coin flip to me, where win you the game, lose you the game. You never quite know what's going to happen.
I think there was also an incredible amount of peel for the Scylla from the other players on Kentucky. I think specifically the 2 Guardians were able to really keep her alive in ways that lended themselves to the winning of the team fights that mattered.
It felt to me that Kentucky had a significantly better engage than Illini Blue did. I mean, some of the damage, the Yorm and the Giannis ult coming in, it's just unpeelable. You either hit it or you don't. And a lot of times Blue wasn't hitting it. But the engage from Kentucky was a piece of cake, Blink, Surbolt. You hit people. and Ymir wall. Boom. Can't walk there anymore. So I think the ease of engage for Kentucky was so much, it was just super simple to play, which is great. Big circles win games.
Big circles go burr.
Indeed.
Well, that was an incredible set. Very well played to both squads. happy they got to play that one so we could watch some incredible Smite here tonight. You have any other thoughts about the game?
I mean, I could go kind of in depth, but I mean, there was the first Gold Fury fight that Blue lost, because they tried to outscale Scylla. It kind of kept UKY in the game, and I think Blue should have looked for a fight there more so than just try to outscale the Scylla. And then the Fire Giant fight where they try to push really, really far. It was the fight before the EFG. They try to push really far towards the blue buff. They try to look for a Sobek engage on a Ymir, and it doesn't work. And you end up just funneling yourself into this great Kentucky engage, and the Scylla is just not hit by the Yormult and the Inasult. And I think Warden tried to dive her, but wasn't able to finish her off because of the peel that you were talking about. So, I mean, it was just decision making and team fights, which is great because in game 1 we didn't even leave laning phase. In game 2 it felt like it was just a Fafnir diff, and then in game 3 we finally got to see some good 5v5 action.
Yeah, definitely the third game was the most fun to watch. So back and forth. Wasn't really sure for a lot of the game which way it was going to go. But it was a heck of a match to watch. I'm better for seeing it.
Yep. It was certainly enjoyable. My home team lost, but what can you do?
What can you do? Well, that is going to do it for us here at the Albion Giants League, ladies and gentlemen. We have had an incredible night of Smite. We got to watch a couple teams go at it, do very well against each other, and we will see you guys next time here on the Albion Giants League for more epic Smite action.